Hey everybody, so today I'm going to talk about how to utilize your artboard scripts. The first thing I'm going to show you is how you would utilize it to create like a multi-page PDF for proofing. So the first thing you're going to do is go to your Power Scripts. If you're not on your artboards yet, click on your artboard button. I basically use the same tab every single time for most of my things. So I want my artboards to be where my black rectangles are. So I'm going to select all of those. And then I'm going to make them invisible because I don't want the black to show in my proofs. Then you're going to click on the Create tab. Click on 0 because we don't want there to be an offset. If you did want an offset, you could play around with that number. That's up to you. I usually keep it at 0. And then I don't want any of the other artboards, including the one that I have now, to show up. I want it to remove all the other artboards, and I want it to apply to the individual shapes that I have selected. So make sure you have just the things you want selected to be your artboards. Otherwise, it's going to create like 1,000 artboards. So then you hit OK. And then you can see it creates 4 different artboards, and then you would just save that as your proof. So that's one way to use it for proofing. Another way to use it is for tiling. So in this example, we are using this order here, just this line item. It's 108 by 625.5, and it's on 3M IJ40. This has a typical 1-inch overlap, so we're going to work it with those specs in mind. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that your art is to the size. I do it in 10th scale because it's so large. And I just make sure I don't have anything white showing up on the edges. You definitely don't want that to happen. Otherwise, you're going to have to do this whole process over again. So for this particular one, I'm doing 50-inch increments except for the last panel. So I'm going to make this 5, and I'm going to make my node right here on the left center point. This is going to force my rectangle this way. Okay, so you hit return, and you can see there's your 50-inch block. Then you're going to want to duplicate that out by going to Object, Transform, Move. And then we don't want to make it 5 because if we do that, it's going to butt up. We need an overlap. So since it's a 1-inch overlap, you take whatever size of the panel that you have. In this case, it's 50. And you're going to take away 1. So 49. Again, 10th scale. Then you're going to hit copy. You're going to hit Command D to repeat this action all the way down until you get to that last one. Then you're just going to bring the last panel where it butts up to the end. So you can see this one is the smaller panel. Okay, I'm going to make these strokes big just so you can see them. Okay, now we're gonna select all the magenta. I'm gonna leave the bottom layer locked for now. Go back to your Power Scripts and again into your Artboard tab. Then click on the Create tab. Same thing, 0 offset. You want these 2 checked off, and then you're gonna click on Create. Oh, yeah. Create artboards from selected shapes, and then hit the button, and it's going to create the 13 artboards that you see here. Now before we save this, we're going to make this layer invisible. Then you're going to save it as a PDF. I'm just going to save this somewhere on my desktop so it's easy to find. So once that's done saving, I'm just going to bring my magenta lines back. I'm just going to select the first one because you got to remember 1 through 12 is going to use the same cut file. So go ahead and cut that, bring it into new document. We're going to work this in 100th scale, like 100% size, because my regmark script is also 100% size. Okay. Then you're going to have to put a labeling tab. I already have mine pre-made. If you can, I would pre-make yours so you don't have to keep doing this over and over, but this is for a 1-inch overlap label. If you can't see it, make it in outline mode. Then you're going to break the link, ungroup it, and then we're just going to add the magenta strokes, select this little tiny box and the main box, go to your Pathfinder, and then click Unite. So it looks like one shape. So your first one doesn't need this. This is your overlap marker. Okay, so we're going to make this part invisible. Then we're going to name this mural, or actually, sorry, values P1. Okay. Then we're going to take your magenta box and put it on a new layer, made through cut. You can name this labels. Okay, then we're going to create the I-cut dots like you normally would. Make sure your artboard fits that outer cut line. Make the outer cut line invisible. Okay, now we're going to create an action so we don't have to do the same thing over and over. So first of all, I'm going to close out on this because I don't need it right now. Okay, and then I'm going to go to Actions. I'm going to make a new folder, name it Example. And then I'm going to just hit Create New Action. It doesn't need to be named anything. It doesn't really matter. Whatever you want to name it, you can name it. And then just hit Record. And then we're going to do File, Place. Find the file that you just saved with all the overlaps and all the different artboards. Make sure your link and your show import options are checked, and then hit place. And then you'll always start out with page 1, hit OK. And you're going to click right here. Okay. Then we are going to click on the top left node, and this needs to be linked so that it scales proportionally, and then we're going to scale it by the height. Okay, then you're going to go to Object, Flatten Transparency. Always make sure your preview is checked. That way if anything looks wonky, you know you probably have to push that one. This one, I know we just need to have this one checked, and so we're going to hit OK. Always look at it in outline mode to make sure nothing went wrong. Okay, and then you stop the action. Okay, I always zoom in on the corners too, just to make sure nothing got misplaced. Then you're going to make your through cut invisible like you normally do, and this will be panel 1. Okay. Now that we're done with that, we can just delete this one. Okay, we know we're on panel 1 right now because we just did it. So I like to look at the tabs while I do it so that I know I'm not messing up and putting the wrong one on there. So I'm going to run that action. It's going to ask me what page. Now we're on 2, so we're going to click 2. Then you hit OK. And then it does everything for you. So you don't have to do all that tedious stuff. You can just hit place and it'll place it there. Now for the next one, since they have overlaps, we have to name this one panel 2. And then I push this one all the way to the right. And then I'll make this like a 40% gray. Can be half a point, 1 point, doesn't really matter. Okay. And then this would be panel 2. And then you're just going to keep repeating that action over and over. Delete, play. What number are we on? Number 3. Hit OK. Voila. Then all we have to do is change the number. Turn this off. Save as 3. And you just keep doing that until you got to the last panel. Now the last panel will be a little bit different. You can still do the same thing. It's just at the end you're going to want to adjust your cut file. So that's how I use the artboard scripting to the best of my ability. If anybody has any suggestions or other examples, I want to know all about them. So let me know. Thanks, guys.